Hello everyone. So today I wanted to talk about when to use validator and when to use conditions in Jira. So I was actually working on a very interesting problem, and that problem was all about asking the user to fill in some information, or not just information, but it could be basically any other condition or restriction that you want to add in your process. For example, maybe in your bug resolution, as part of your bug resolution process, you have a requirement where you want to fill in a field, right? It's a very simple thing. Now there are two things that you can do mainly. One thing that you can do is you can basically use a condition where you can hide the transition completely. So for example, if the field that you want the user to fill in is not filled in, then you can hide the transition, which is of course great, because uh, if you don't really have that field filled in, then you are making sure that there is no transition available. But the problem with this approach is that you need to train people. You need to tell everyone that whenever you're trying to resolve something, make sure you fill in this field. So definitely you can use a condition and it will work, but sometimes you have to also rely on the tool. And when you're relying on a tool, you can actually make it a bit more user friendly. For example, you can have a transition screen, and in the transition screen you can have that field that you want user to fill in. And when you're using a validator, the transition will be visible. So the resolve button or the transition, basically the option to resolve the issue, the bug in this case, will be there for the user to click on. But when they click on it, in the transition screen, you can display a message that this particular field is required, and fill it in. Now, sometimes people don't really add a transition screen. When you don't really have a transition screen, what will happen is Jira will still throw like an error in a pop-up where the message that you want to display. So in your validator, in your script validator, you can actually throw an error message, which will be displayed to the user, which I think will work. But I think from my experience, if you're using a validator, then also use a transition screen along with it, so that the user can not only see the error message, but they can also see that particular field where they can fill in, or where they can basically provide the info. Now, sometimes using a condition is also useful, but in most cases, when you add a condition, then you also have to train your users. You also have to tell them that you're only allowed to make this transition whenever this particular field is filled in. And I think conditions work mostly in those cases where you want to, in a way, hide a transition completely. And that is usually based on permissions. For example, let us say you have a process where only certain people can close the issue. And that person could be your lead or project manager. So that person is, of course, aware that, yes, I have that particular authority, and only I can close my bug once it is resolved. So in that case, of course, condition will work fine, because you don't really want to bother everyone else with this transition, which they can not make. So use a condition when you have to hide something like a transition, but only in those cases where it's only few people who are going to use that particular transition. In most of the cases, I think a validator will work fine, because using a validator, you're in a way forcing people, or in a way you are asking them nicely that, yes, you can make a transition, but as part of the process, you have to fill in this particular field. So this is something that I thought I'll probably talk about. One thing which I find it a bit difficult, again from my experience, is basically how to publish these things. So imagine you have a software development team where people are working together, and you have these team members who are trying to work on the bugs, or they're working on stories. So whenever you are in a way enforcing a process, you should of course rely on training. You should also make it public somewhere, maybe have some documentation for your developers to follow. But we all know that following a documentation is a bit difficult, even after you train someone, you can't really expect them to follow this process all the time. So whenever you're adding these transitions or validators, or whenever you're using these fields, do everything. So number one, of course, train them. Number two, train them again. Number three, publish these things somewhere. And also at the same time, very important, whenever you have a field, a custom field, add some messages, right? Like in the helper text, in the description of the custom field, you can add a message that yes, this particular field is required when you resolve it, or maybe use a message field. In Jira, we have a message field which you can use for both edit and view screens, and these message fields are great because when you have these message fields in Jira, these message fields can be displayed maybe on a particular transition, not really everywhere. So I thought of talking about these things because these things are very common. And when you're using Jira, and if you're using Jira, which I think you should, these things are customizable. And that is a great thing about Jira. And by the way, if you need any help with Jira, if you need any support, or if you are struggling with getting the most out of your Jira instance, then do reach out to me. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. You can reach out to me through my website, ravisagar.in or sparksys.com. And if you need any help with your Jira instance, then we can definitely help you. We have a team of experienced resources. We operate from UK and also from India, and we can definitely support you. So that is all I wanted to talk about in this video. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and you learned something new today. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.